Evening, Doug.
How you going, mate?
I'm well.
Hell yeah.
It's been an interesting week, but I'm here. I've consumed the content.
Yes.
I've had topics brewing around in my head.
Oh, really?
And, I'm ready for another round.
Okay.
Last week we went a little bit over time.
Yeah.
But I think it benefited from it.
I think we could be real kosher and we could try and knock that chunk out of this one, but I don't think it's going to happen. We've got our little clock again now, so like where are we at? We're 20. But okay, we've got a bit of a mark.
Sweet.
We've got some reference and
Good to go.
Sorry, I guess for giving you content, because that's what it is. It's not just us talking for our own amusement and putting it out
for you.
We're doing it for you, the listener and or viewer.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Hey, can I ask as well, what is your, I imagine you're pretty busy throughout the day. Already, we're already there. Throughout the day, but when you listen to a podcast, are you a listener or a watcher? What's your preference?
I'm a watcher.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a watcher.
Yeah. See, I'm
in a lot of aspects.
Yeah. That's creepy. And sexually explicit. So it's funny because I love that there's podcasts on YouTube because I can, when there's certain moments that are like really funny, you get to go back and watch it. But because I'm at work all the time, I've usually got Bluetooth in and I'm listening to it on YouTube. So if there's something that comes up where they're like, put something up on screen, I really want to know what it is because sometimes you can't get the context. I go to that. So that's why I fought tooth and nail for YouTube version of this.
Red in tooth and nail.
Red in tooth and nail. Yes, that's me.
Jasper.
Wink.
Yeah.
So I guess do you want to start? You got a song?
I do have a song. It's by
a tune. A tune? Well, it's not a song or flick a chat. It's a tune. A flick and a chat.
Yes.
And Nigel Thornberry all of a sudden.
Oh, I love it. It's from across the puddle.
Mm-hmm.
It's from New Zealand.
Oh.
It's from our buddies in Shihad.
Right.
Yeah, I really like it, man. It's called Tear Down These Names.
Okay.
And it's the first single off a new album that's coming from them.
Right.
And it's like, this is like a little shout out to my buddy Tom Larkin, who's the drummer of the band.
Yes.
And like, everyone jokes that he's my boyfriend because I do have a little man crush on him.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah, he's just such a nice guy.
Yes.
I honestly, I feel very, 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 very privileged to know him.
I've only ever heard you just
gush about it.
Gush and glow over Tom.
He is just such a nice dude. And like, as a drummer as well, like I really, really love his style of playing. And we have both talked about playing drums and that we both have a real love and respect for Brad Wilk from Rage Against the Machine.
Yes.
And about his drumming and how it like, I've always been a very, very, and every band that I've ever been in will attest to this, is that I'm a super meat and potatoes drummer, right? super meat and potatoes. Simple as I hold down a groove, fine. I'm nothing special.
Yeah.
But like I can lock it down.
Yeah.
But I'm like, anything complicated, mess me up, right?
But also, that's not what you're out there trying to achieve.
No. And in a lot of ways, Shihad is certainly not meat and potatoes, but is very, like, if you've ever seen Tom play, he's a human metronome, this guy. Like, there's that TikTok was like, this motherfucker don't miss. That's Tom Larkin. Like, he motherfucker don't miss. Like, he is just tight. Like, it's just super locked down. And that's what, like, their last album, Five Eye, was like as well. And like, this is just more of the same. And so, and the song is around about tearing down, like, because in the same way that Australia is a British colony, so was New Zealand. It's around tearing down statues of people like Captain Cook and like people that probably don't deserve as much of the the idolatry that they get.
Yeah, the
they did some
perspective
really
has
shitty
changed.
things. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so like the cover art for this song is like literally it's like looking up at a statue of Captain Cook, and like I don't know if it's meant to be blood or not, but there's like paint, like red paint, on the statue, and yeah, it's about like taking a look back at the, you know, those people that people kind of take for granted and go, or you know, they just accept that the narrative that they're told, like, oh, this person founded our country. It's like, no, they founded it on blood, you know, like
it's
on genocide.
It's kind of baked in because you're taught that growing up, and obviously it's never the intention that it's you know, that you're taught that this place was conquered or whatever. It was like, oh, it was discovered and it's kind of washed over, but really, if
literally whitewashed.
Yeah, literally whitewashed, and just because something's like you got a statue or a plaque or a name of something that's really old doesn't mean that, like Columbus, Ohio, there's been a lot of, I don't know whether that's actually changed or not. I'm not up with my American news very up to date, but I know that there was a lot of
there's a lot of
talk
statues
of changing the name of Columbus, Ohio, because of Christopher Columbus was a conqueror. He didn't discover, he took it over.
Yeah, correct. Well, there's a lot of statues that are now coming up in the US as being, you know, should we really have this? You know, is it?
I'd have to think the ratio of not great statues to, like, you know,
ones that should be celebrated,
okay statues is probably pretty skewed, I'd say.
Yeah, exactly.
When was the last time you heard of someone putting up a statue for something? You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, there's, unfortunately, and I mean, this isn't to take away their achievements or anything like that, but in Australia, like 90% of the time when there's statues going up these days, it's for sporting heroes.
Yeah.
And like, that's fine. Their achievements are like wonderful and all of that sort of stuff. But like, my God, what about like people who, you know, like during COVID and all that sort of stuff? Like, what about like doctors and nurses who are out there like saving lives?
But that's what I mean. The culture behind putting up a statue has changed. It used to be like, this was the founder or someone that was like super really important,
infallible,
but it was a symbol of reverence for a person, and now that's shifted to sort of pop culture rather than leadership, I guess.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what that song's all about, and like, I just don't like, and much in the same vein as like, you know, Tom as a drummer, I feel can't miss. Like, Shihad, I think, at a point in their like musical career where it's like they've got those like you said, baked in fans that are going to be all over this, and like they really are at that point where they're writing the records they want to write, and it's like they've got an audience that are going to eat it all up. Like, I think they can only get better from here. I sort of like, I dipped out of them and then came back for, you know, and you know, it's I'm just really glad I did, because it's like I think they're writing just excellent rock.
It's also important to take a step back from a band sometimes too. I know that for very similar, that reminded me of like where Periphery's at the moment, of a band that's been around for not probably as long as Shihad, but like...
Shihad been around for like nearly 30 years now.
Yeah. They've been around for a very long time. They
started out as a speed metal band.
Yeah, no, I'd believe that. I'd definitely believe there's so much of that energy. I mean, even like you look at, not that Foo Fighters ever particularly heavy, but I've watched an interview with Dave Grohl this afternoon of when he was like way younger and stuff, and he reminds me a lot of like like Johnny Too Good sort of. And
in looks or
in looks, but like
because they both
also
had the super long black hair.
But it was the super long black hair and the kind of just like, you know, whatever wiry, kind of you know, like there's a real, and I'm not super familiar with Shihad's background, but I did know that there was a little bit of heavier stuff in the background. But also, you watch like some old Foo Fighter stuff; it's not heavy like that, but there is that younger sort of like, I'm not out here trying to write particularly like trying to be really subversive. I just want to write shit that's like fat and that gets people going. I watched, I think it was Bizarro Fest or something that Foo Fighters did, and they were doing Breakout or something, and that's one of the heaviest things I've seen. He
screams balls on that song. Yeah, absolutely.
But I know what you mean. It's like as the time goes on, so the Periphery example I was going to say was, people keep saying like, oh, you were such a a groundbreaking band when you brought out your first album, and now you've sort of 5 albums in, and like it feels like the groundbreaking stuff's gone away. And Misha, the guitarist, is like, well, yeah, we've found our voice now as artists, and you know, the last album and this new album, they might sound pretty similar, but it's because like we not created a genre, but we created this niche that everyone wanted to do, and we can only hone that to a point where now the next few albums we put out, if you don't think they're groundbreaking, you don't love them, that's your problem. We've finally found a way to do this that we really, really enjoy it, and it's taken uncertainty out of it and given us proper creativity. And I imagine a band like Shihad, now they're just like, we know what we are and what we do, let's play in those.
I don't know the exact history of like naming himself Johnny Too Good, but like, what a day! That you came up with that name. It's just the ultimate frontman name. I think it just says everything about the swagger of a frontman. Yeah, my name is Johnny Too Good. It's just.
It's like max power.
Yeah, I just love it. And man, I remember seeing them at the zoo. It was on the
That's
5
how
High tour.
Wild they were.
Yeah. No, I saw them at the zoo, and man, Johnny Too Good did this like real Elvis hip swinging move, and I was like, damn, like I was like, I can see why women are into him. Like,
can I say, speaking of like TikTok and everything before, and that whole hip swinging thing, there is a video of the lead singer from the Talking Heads that I keep seeing come up on TikTok and stuff of him. He's singing, and
from back in the day,
from like back in the day, from like the 80s, and he's hip swinging, and it's like almost hypnotic. Like it's better. But how funny to think that even like something like that, someone could have taken a video of him doing that, but a video of you doing something 30 years ago, just on some live video, just something that you didn't even think about. And now all of a sudden there's hundreds of millions of people that are just like watching this loop of you swinging your hips. And
weird.
Very, very strange. So you never know. There might be some bootleg Johnny Too Good out there.
Sure there would be.
There would be. Ripe for the picking.
What's your tune?
My tune? I'm not going to remember now that you put me on the spot like that. Oh, so Between the Buried and Me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so a band that I grew up on, like that was, I would have been, I think 16, no, not even that, 15. And someone showed me a song off Alaska, which was like their second record. And they showed me the primer, and the primer is this crazy like sweet picking thing. And then there's a bunch of just like really chunky, like almost not deathcore, but like their earlier stuff was just a little bit of everything, and so you never knew what you're in for. So I listened to this 3-minute long track, and I was like, I felt like someone had... You ever watch Mission Impossible 3 and they got the little detonator up the nose? Have you seen that movie?
Yeah.
And
they has to extract it.
Yeah. And these missus didn't get the one taken out, and they like lets it off, and her eyes just go like that, and just you can see her brain scratch. That's how I felt after I listened to that first song.
Man.
So... After that album, they brought out Colours, and Colours was, I think, that was where they got a whole bunch of people on board.
Yeah,
they've just brought out this new song.
Okay, good. I'm glad that that you're going to talk about the new song.
Yeah, so Fix the Error.
Yeah,
and it's pretty wild, but it's also very them. So the thing I wanted to talk about specifically about it is that it is the first song off Colours 2.
Yeah.
So it is the sequel to an album. Now, the thing I wanted to talk about was, do you think, there were bands that used to name, like Led Zeppelin would have 1, 2, 3, and 4. But do you think having an album with an album name and then 10, 15 years later going back and doing a sequel album, like what would you expect to hear from a band that's doing a sequel album for an album that really wasn't a concept as such, or like it's such a weird thing to me to think about.
Well, I mean, Metallica tried it with like Unforgiven and Unforgiven 2 and Unforgiven 3.
But so you expect from that, right? From listening to something like that.
Thematic similarities.
And the key word, Unforgiven, they're still working on there are
in all three of those songs, the riff, there are variations on the riff.
Yeah.
So I guess it'd be similar to that. Before we get into talking about Between the Buried and Me, it came up on my Spotify the other day. I started with 12 Foot Ninja when Start the Fire came out.
Yep.
And then it took me to something else. And then the next one, it took me to a live performance of Nocturne by Tesseract, which also came out on that same day. And then Fix the Error came on.
Yeah.
And I personally think, and I was like, oh man, how have I missed the opportunity to, because like I've done PR now for Osaka Punch from Brisbane for a number of years.
Yeah.
And I love that band. I think they're great. They're so quirky and weird.
Amazing dudes, yeah.
But I've missed the opportunity to compare them to Between the Buried and Me for so long. Like musically, probably not vocally, but musically are like brothers, I think.
Yeah, I think even a band with like Osaka Punch that are definitely heavy, but they're not like your standard sort of like metalcore heavy.
They have as much in common with jazz as metal and whatever. I saw a thing the other day. It's like, is Gent just spicy jazz? And I was like, yeah, it's good enough. Like, good a description as any.
There's definitely, you could definitely take that comparison. I remember Rob Scallon on YouTube, the guitarist, did a video called The Jazz, and it was them playing jazz on like 7 strings and stuff, Gent on 7 strings, but like clean and with fedoras on and stuff. It was very good.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But yeah, so Between the Buried and Me, their background really, like if you listen to Colours, there's a song called Answer the Sky that has like a hoedown at the end of it. There's polka parts all through it. I remember at the time when they brought out Colours.
The intro, I was like, what the fuck is this?
They called themselves, was it Progressive Adult Contemporary Jazz Metal or something like that. Like that was what they were trying to market themselves at the time, because it was, and I love the adult contemporary as well because it really just covers anything that isn't under the the metal thing. But yeah, that song, I didn't mind that song, but I've been off the wagon with them for a while, and what I'm yearning to find out is this just a fan service thing of calling their new album Colours 2 because they might have a little bit sprinkled through it that's similar, or like,
I doubt it. Nothing's.
Or is this
these kind of bands? Nothing is done without intention.
Well, the other thing I was going to bring up was how 2020 was kind of the year of the remaster, because they actually remastered Colours and brought it out last year, which might have been part of this.
Was that because they went in
as a PR sort of
or something, and they remastered it to put it out themselves? So they
potentially.
I think maybe that might have been the case.
Because also Protest the Hero did a remaster. I can't remember. There are a few other bands, but I just kept seeing remasters pop up, and I thought it was mostly bands that they're looking for new ways to put out stuff that they can make money out of, or put out a remaster and then do a live show online. And
that's probably what it is that they've got out of whatever
stuff.
Well, they've got out of whatever deal they were in, and this is not me saying this is what they've done, because I don't know, but it would strike me as like if they've got out of a previous deal, if they remaster it, then they'll be able to put it up through their own.
Yeah, you're right.
And make more money per stream or per sale or whatever.
Yeah,
and maybe make some more money out of it.
Some of those remasters were bangers too. Like I didn't think an album like that needed a remaster, but like it served it very well.
Yeah, sick.
I'm really liking it. So
yeah, technology always sort of brings out a new side of things.
You know what? It's fucking weird though, man. It's weird to hear an album that you grew up with, right? And for me, I'm 30.
Is it cleaner?
That came out when I was like 18, right?
Yeah.
It's cleaner. They've also added, they've pumped up some like little guitar parts and background vocals. I think they even added a couple little things that they wanted to hear over the years. Okay. But like that came out when I was 18 and I'm 31 this year, right? So like I'm not going to pretend a bit of time hasn't passed, but it's crazy that I grew up with that album, and then to hear it remastered and there's an obvious difference. Not a huge difference compared to something from the 80s, but like in my head, I'm younger than I am. And also, to me, albums from the 80s get remasters, not albums from like the, like late 2000s.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. I think perception, particularly because we've crossed a century mark.
Yeah.
I think perception of time on that is really skewed. So someone I saw a meme of this the other day. It was about in the same vein as like Smashing Pumpkins put out a song called 1979 in, I want to say 96.
Yes.
That would be the same as putting out a song this year and calling it 2004.
2 years ago, there was I can't remember what her name was, but there's a pop chick who put out a song called 2002, and I don't know how old she is. I think she must be like early 20s or something like that.
So she was what, 4?
Oh no, she must have been closer to 30 or something. But it like had, the chorus was a mishmash of lines from songs from that year. So she'd taken certain lines and put them together as the chorus. But I remember thinking like, holy crap, there's a song about 2002 out, and like that's not that makes me feel old, and I know I'm not old enough to feel old, but you know what I mean? Like, it just spins me out. I think.
Thanks, I hate it.
But yeah, thanks, I hate it. Yeah. I think the gaps in generations are obviously going to get smaller as we go along as well.
Yeah.
Or maybe we're just noticing it.
Yeah, I honestly think the 2000 thing, like the ticking over into a new century, has really skewed that.
Yep.
And maybe it's even more particular to like our sort of generation. Like, I don't think, like, we're in 2021.
Yeah. Yeah. What? Yeah, I mean, was it last year or year before that? There was Terminator was set.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, Judgment Day was meant to be in 1997.
Yeah, that's right.
August 29th, 1997.
But now is when.
But then when, like, I think, yeah. Like, I think might have been Rise of the Machines, might have been number 3 when 1997 didn't happen, Judgment Day got reset or whatever, and it just happened later. And I think it was in 2021 or something. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah.
Well,
I remember going to school on August 29th, 1997 and being like, it's Judgment Day, bitches.
I've seen a lot of memes recently. I don't know what I've done to earn them coming up in the algorithm for me, but about like Y2K.
All praise the algorithm.
And just like, but like Y2K memes and stuff of like, you know, people making sure they turn off their computers and things.
Man.
But just the fact
Did you do all of that?
Oh, I don't remember, man. I was like 10.
My folks, like, because I was like in charge of all the computers in my house, like, because I was 12, 13 at the time, so I knew them. I was in charge of like going down after midnight, turning the computer on. Yep, all sweet. Oh, okay. Cool.
But with the saucepan on the head and the garbage bin lid and everything.
It really was a bit of like, oh, what's going to happen
in case
when we
the
turn
computer
this
blows up
on?
and the hackers come spewing out of the screen. Yeah.
It was a bit weird, but
it
was a thing we did.
Don't look directly into the bloody phone port on the wall. Something will come out and it'll be like Matrix and it'll come out and get you.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to talk about a flick, so I'm gonna flick over.
Let's do it
to that, if you will. Last week. Yeah. I was telling you about, we were talking about film sets and contracts and people, you know, like when a contract runs out, the people are going to go to the next film. And, you know, if you've got a budget for 30 days and you only use 25 days, well, those people were supposed to be there for those extra 5 days. So do you just pay them and send them home? Do you use them?
Yep.
Do you lay them off without the money? You know, you got to do something.
Yep.
So there's a YouTuber called Austin McConnell, and I'm not going to go... Austin McConnell.
Yep.
I'm not going to go super deep into all of the details about this because he's got a video on it that's really
Very
awesome.
Concise.
Link will be in the comments.
Yeah.
But I love the concept of it and I want to talk about it. So back in
I should state also, I watched this video as well. So just to get up to speed on.
Well, I wanted to word you up on it because I wanted. It's such an interesting concept to talk about, but to not have any concept of it in the first place for us to chat about it, sort of makes it a bit one-sided. So, but I wanted to get some of your opinions on it. So,
sure.
So there was a director called, I think it was Frank Gorman, Roger Corman. So you remember this way better than I do. So around the time in the late 70s when Edgar Allan Poe, all his works became public domain. This guy directed a movie with one of those stories because they're public domain, they're free to use. And no, it wasn't The Raven, though. He did one earlier than that, and they became popular.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so what happened was he directed one of these things for a TV movie, and it went okay. So they went, all right, let's do like a mini, MCU of the time for these videos.
A shared cinematic universe.
Yeah, and they're B movies for TV, right? So they make them cheap and quick. So this guy has made 4 or 5 of these things. They get to filming The Raven, and they've got a not well-known Jack Nicholson at the time.
And but also on top, like Boris Karloff and Vincent Price. Like, these are like at that time A-list horror.
Boris Karloff being the original Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, and the Wolfman.
Yeah,
and all sorts.
He was a busy guy at the time.
Yeah.
And so because of him being a busy guy, they get to the end of like let's say as a 30-day production. They get to day 28. They've wrapped. They've shot it really quickly because it's all pretty simple to do.
Yeah.
And they got a couple of days left, and so
sets are still up.
Yeah, we've got all this stuff to use. We've got the camera crew around, and we've paid for Boris Karloff. Let's use the guy.
Yeah.
So they write a shotgun script at like
60 pages, like is bonkers. Overnight.
Overnight, yeah. But I mean, that's the nature of a TV movie, right?
Yeah.
Is that you've only just got to have the beats, and you can fill all the rest in. So, and we
got Jack Nicholson sitting around.
We got Jack Nicholson, and he seems like he's doing all right. Like he's an all right actor. Like maybe we'll use him. Little do they know. So they've gone ahead. They've written this script, and where the fuckery begins and the wheels come off is they've only got 2 days left, and so they know they've got to film all of Boris Karloff's scenes.
This is where my opinion starts on this.
Okay, give me. Yep.
The fucking ego.
Yeah.
To think you can bash out a film in 2 days,
like when the one you just shot that you were all organised for,
less detailed. Yeah, they've used 28 out of 30.
Yeah,
and then to think you can bash out a feature length in 2 days.
Well,
the fucking ego, the audacity.
So originally it was because they had Karloff for the extra couple of days they wanted to use him. So they must have known it was going to take longer than that. But the idea was they've got this big star, they've paid a fair bit of money to have him, use him for those couple of days.
Yeah.
But that's where the fuckery begins, because now you've got this one director who has directed these scenes with Jack Nicholson and everyone, but every scene has Boris Karloff in it because they know they're the ones they need him for, and he's on his way. They send him off. Then they work on it a little bit more, and the sets are starting to get pulled down and stuff because it's
while
they're shooting and everything. So they've got all the set pieces where they definitely needed this castle set that they're working on. The name of the movie, by the way, is El Terror. Yeah, and it's supposed to be.
I don't know if you know that stands for The Terror.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Your Spanish is way better than mine. Thanks for that, Tim.
No worries.
On your champ. So they get all the not outdoor, but they get all the really particular scenes they need with the set. And then the thing kind of gets backburned for a little while because they've moved on to other projects. Later on, the movie gets handballed. They go, look, we haven't got time to work on this. We're going to give it to, some film students.
A little known person who worked on the original, who worked on he was The Raven.
And he was just an extra guy from a film school that was helping out, and he was a hand on set.
Little dude named Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah. And I don't know, he went on to do some stuff, I think. But So the thing that I want to talk about is after this, they go through he works on it a bit, and then another director and another director. They shoot a bunch of scenes.
And then he comes back to it eventually
At
himself.
the original
to
director, Corman, comes back to finish it off, and they end up with this just confusing mess. Nothing matches up. There's a guy whose sideburns length changes and everything.
Shot to shot, not even scene to scene.
Exactly, because at the end of it, they've had to cobble together all this stuff to try and make not even the original story, just a story that would play on TV.
And there's rumors as well that Jack Nicholson himself had a crack at
tried to direct a little bit of it as well,
and get some scenes.
It was probably
done.
His first directing job as well,
No doubt.
and it really
No
turned
doubt.
out super well for him. So what I wanted to talk about was was like late 70s, but is it just me?
Yeah.
Or some of the movies that you grew up with that you thought were great movies were great movies because of the characters and because of, action scenes and the beats of what's happening. But then you go back and you watch it and you realize, holy shit, this is a steaming pile of shit because the editing is bad.
Yeah.
Beverly Hills Cop. Some of the... No. So the first one could be edited better, but it's pretty good. The second one was difficult to watch. The third Beverly Hills Cop is completely unwatchable because of the editing. Yeah. Not great story and everything, but that was the one I grew up on, and I've gone back to watch it, and there's a scene in that movie where there's a...
Is it on the ride?
Theme park ride, and it's like a Ferris wheel, but
it goes way longer than it
goes
should.
way too long. All the cuts are really bad.
George Lucas has a cameo.
Yeah, yes, he does.
Scene.
Yep. And just everything about that is just terrible. And I've gone back and I've watched a few of those old movies, and I've got no problem with a stuntman being subbed in a place where you can see his face and little mistakes. But when something is edited so poorly that you can't get through a scene start to finish and feel like you got what was going on.
That scene is so long.
Yes. So is there anything that comes to mind for you that's like just an absolute car fire?
Yeah. Alien 3. Alien Cubed.
Yeah. Alien 3 was
David Fincher's first feature film.
Yeah, but he didn't do all of it, did he?
I think he did direct it from the start. But he was basically given a film that was being written as he was shooting.
That was it.
And the whole, how the logo and the font and everything for Alien 3 has the 3 as though it's like Alien Cubed.
Yes, yeah.
Well, that's because originally, and the original script that David Fincher was presented with was so, what it started with and what they ended up with, there are little elements that made through all of the cuts to what we've finally got.
Yes.
But the original script for that was the planet that it's meant to be set on was meant to be an artificial planet.
Okay.
And it was a cube.
Oh.
And the planet was made of wood.
Okay.
Wood, Jerry. Wood. And which, as you can imagine, the alien's acid blood, is going to cause a lot of problems for that.
Complicates things.
There was an artificial atmosphere around the side, around the cube of about 6 feet. So you could walk on the surface of the planet.
You couldn't jump.
And so there was lots of scenes that took place on the outside of the cube. It was a monastery.
Rather than a prison planet.
Rather than a prison. But if you remember the film, that religion is given to the prison inmates. So, and there was a priest is one of the characters.
Yeah.
That is came down from being a monastery down to the priest, and then they were given religion. Or there's just there's little elements that have survived every draft. And, I don't know if you've ever seen the original theatrical version and then seen the director's cut. but the director's cut makes so much more sense. The edit is so much better.
You're right.
So do you remember? So the film starts out with the escape pod from the Alien 2.
Alien 2, yep.
You know, so you've got Hicks, Newt, and Ripley on the escape pod. It crash lands on, I believe it's called Furina 316 or something. It's like a Fury. It's called Fury Planet or something. No, I could be wrong on that. That could be the name of one of the other.
You let me down here.
Yeah. Anyway, whatever planet it's meant to be, the prison planet.
You were supposed to know.
I know. Anyway, so in the original film, it crash lands. The prisoners all go out and they drag the escape pod back to the prison, and you know Ripley's discovered to be the only survivor.
Yes,
and the movie goes from there, right? Whereas, so in this one, it was. I mean, the escape pod was a large thing. So the director's cut actually has them going out there with these big yak bison looking things and getting them to drag the escape pod back to the thing. And there's a lot more shots of establishing that there might be a face hugger on the ship, because it was never alluded to. In the original one, you just you're just assuming
we're into the movie, we're away, you know?
Yeah. So this one, in the original film, the facehugger escapes from the pod and attaches itself to a dog. Hence why the alien in that movie is a quadruped. It runs around on all fours, rather than if you watch 1 and 2. So it's sort of established that it genetically takes on some of the qualities of the host, of whoever the facehugger impregnated, right? So that's why, if you look in, Alien 2, whatever, it was a human that, and in Alien 1 as well. So the host was human, so it ran around on its hind legs and had arms, whereas the in Alien 3, it was a dog. Now in this one, the facehugger impregnates one of those bison instead. And it just makes so much more sense, because in the original one, it's the facehugger just runs around for a bunch of time until it finds the dog.
Right.
And then impregnates the dog and it bursts out of the dog. Whereas this is it was in the holding bay with the bison, just made sense. And it just,
they just smooth shit over.
Yeah. It just sets the pace much better for the rest of the film. The rest of it's still a bit of a mess, to be honest. But it's got a certain vibe to it. It's a lot of it's shot in the UK and Prague. And so it's got this real dirty, dingy sort of feel to it. It was so different to Alien 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And
I got to admit though, so I can't remember who was the there was Charles Dance was in that movie, the powerful Charles Dance, who was also in Last Action Hero, which is I love that movie.
More recently, Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, well, so Game of Thrones was where I started putting it together. I was like, where do I know this guy from?
Yeah.
And then we went back and we watched the Alien trilogy again, and I was like,
oh, there he
is.
And the priest is a guy called Charles S. Dutton as well.
Okay.
That's why there's a lot of there's tons of UK actors in it.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that was shot mostly in the UK.
Yeah.
And it's still a bit of a mess towards the end, because there's just a lot of setting up this trap and them getting chased around by it, and it's edited very
needs a little bit of Benny Hill music, and
there's a bit of that. But overall, the director's cut is just a much better film. But if you go and watch, on the DVD, there's a documentary about the troubled making of Alien 3.
Yeah.
Alien Cubed.
Yeah.
And it's a mess.
Much like Predator there was a lot of troubles with Predator as well. So
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
So many of those great movies that had those crazy,
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, Jean-Claude Van Damme, that was meant to be his first American film.
Yep.
And
then they put him in a suit.
And he was pissed off because he wasn't going to get to show off his kickboxing.
But then you've got Mando and the
Pedro
Pascal. We couldn't remember that last time. So Pedro Pascal, and everyone's saying, he's going to storm off set. He's sick of it because he's stuck in a helmet all the time. And he's just like, I'm working, man. Like I'm getting, any way I cut it, people know that I am this character, but I'm also getting paid. And why would I bitch about it?
Yeah.
But Jean-Claude Van Damme was like he was at that boiling point of just like, I'm just going to be the biggest star. Just everyone needs to see my face. And
speaking of troubled productions on films, have you ever read about Jean-Claude Van Damme on the set of Street Fighter?
No.
Man, it is buckle up. It is a wild, wild story.
Did you have a movie, or is this going to be your movie?
No. Oh, I do have a movie, and it's another ensemble cast movie that really took me by surprise. I won't tell the whole story about Street Fighter, but I'll just say look it up. Look up a bit, and the story might be called something like Jean-Claude Van Damme's coke benders while on the
I don't know why, but immediately when you were just like, it was crazy, I was like, I bet it's something drug related.
Them in Thailand, he just wouldn't turn up for Monday's set.
Yeah.
Shooting. Yeah. He would just go away.
I can just imagine him with that Mad Dog face on.
Yeah. And apparently Kylie Minogue was because she was all cashed up because she was already a pop star. She took the reins and just at the end of shooting, threw a big rap party and treated, and because you got Raul Julia, who played M. Bison, who's dying of cancer during filming.
Yeah,
and so she just really took the reins and treated everyone, and it was really cool. Kylie Minogue ended up being the real hero of that movie. Yeah, it was pretty cool because a lot of it was shot here in the Gold Coast as well.
Okay,
yeah, early days of movie world. And
so many good
it was
movies.
Between here and Thailand, it was shot, and it was in Thailand where all the dramas were.
I was watching a bit of some stuntman videos and stuff on the weekend, and reminded me even when I found out that Jackie Chan's Mr. Nice Guy was filmed in Australia. That was
in Brisbane, man. Yeah. The old museum, literally 3 or 4 blocks from here.
Yeah. Because I remember. Hang on, was it Mr.
Nah, I can't remember.
I think that's what it was called.
I can't remember. But it's it's a blue cover.
Yeah, but
and it's him busting out of the front of the cover.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I just remember that was when I was pretty young that came out.
It's on the roof of the museum.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I remember So I remember that being the first time that I was like, wait, is that Australia? Movies are filmed in Australia?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Very cool. What was your movie, champ? You're on home.
Okay, so I had some time to myself on Saturday, and I watched a bunch of movies on Saturday. And I was scrolling through Netflix, and I was like, what is this? It's Sylvester Stallone, but I've never heard of this film. What is it? It's from 2002? What the hell? It's called I See You.
Right. I was going to say, you're only just hearing about The Expendables?
No. This is pre-Expendables.
Terrible movie, by the way. Hated it. Worst movie I've ever seen.
Oh, wow.
Turn it off.
Wow.
Anyway, let's move on.
I'm going to disagree on that, but I mean, it's not really worth defending, but I enjoyed it for what it was.
It was. We have so many big actors that we don't need a script.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
You do a flip. You say some silly line and then we'll finish the movie.
Yeah, fair enough. It's called I See You, EYECU.
Yeah, okay. Sounds like Sylvester Stallone named it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, so, and I was like, what is this movie? I've never heard of it. And I looked it up on IMDb, as I do with just about every movie I'm watching. And I realised that in Australia it had a different title.
Lay it on me.
Detox. D-Tox.
Oh.
And I'm like, Detox.
That still doesn't ring a bell for me.
Okay. So it came out in 2002, but it was shot in the late 90s. It was shot in 1998. And was at one point going to be directed by Ron Howard,
Right.
as in Richie Cunningham, Ron Howard.
I wouldn't have picked him for a Sylvester Stallone movie.
He ended up doing The Grinch instead. Anyway, so and it was going to just be called Detox, DETOX, to begin with. Film was shot. First cut, studio was like, wow, thanks, I hate it. Shot it again, recut it again, didn't like it again, shelved the movie, right? So this movie had a cast of, so Dina Meyer, who you may not know, but she was like from the name, but she was in Starship Troopers.
Okay.
But also has Chris Christopherson.
Wow.
Charles S. Dutton.
Yeah.
Who I was just mentioning just before. Robert Patrick, a.k.a. the T-1000. Who else is in it? Tom Berenger.
Wow.
Yeah. Sean Patrick Flannery, who played young Indiana Jones in the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles TV series. It just goes on. The list of names just goes, and like they're not like household names, but they're like these people definitely chewed up some budget.
They're not nobodies. That's
they're
for sure.
not nobodies. That's right. And there was a ton of them. Ron Howard was interested in directing it at one time. Anyway, Universal basically like shelved this movie to the point where when it came out on straight to DVD.
Of course.
Straight to DVD. Universal removed their name from it.
Whoa.
This is not a terrible film.
How much money have you got to have? Like
they still distributed it.
Yeah,
they just took their name off it.
Still though.
Yeah.
Like the budget they must have had for that, for it to go straight to DVD, must have been devastating.
Well, they spent it 5 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
At that point, they're like, oh, whatever.
No, but that's what I mean. Like, I think about, I've done some work for, some big mining companies and things like that. Like, as a Sparky, you work for big companies all the time and you go, holy shit, someone just, like, they got asked to make a $100,000 decision on the spot and I had to decide whether I was going to buy coffee this morning on the way to work.
Yeah.
And then to look at, we got this budget, we're going to get Sylvester Stallone, Robert Patrick, and, all these people when they're in their primes and stuff like that.
I mean, Robert Patrick would have been... that would have been coming onto the X-Files for him as well.
Yeah.
So
so to have that kind of budget and then watch it and go, just put it away for now. We'll do something else. Like, what? Man?
Yeah. So it's all about, it's a weird flick. So it's all about Stallone is an FBI agent that's like embedded in a cop unit. So he's a fed with a bunch of cops, chasing a serial killer, who's like taunting him, and eventually like goes and like kills his missus, right? He's about to like propose to his missus, played by Dina Meyer, and he kills his missus, and then obviously like thinks, anyway, goes on the hunt. He thinks he gets the serial killer. Obviously he doesn't. But then like falls into a deep, deep depression, which he like gets on the booze, right?
Okay, yep.
And so his cop mate goes, look, I've heard of this like detox place that's run by ex-cops that like, cops looking out for cops, So they send him down to Wyoming in the middle of winter. So there's like a snowstorm, to this like detox place where like it's all for like ex-cops, ex-military, feds, all that sort of stuff. And Chris Christopherson runs it. I'm guessing this is like, he shot this at around about the same time he was like, took the role as Whistler in Blade.
Yeah.
As well. Anyway, maybe even after. Maybe this is like the first thing he did after Whistler. Anyway, but it's in this like big sort of fortress looking
So
building.
straight away you're getting vibes of like, oh, this sounded like it was going to an AA meeting, but now I'm going to like some sort of
it's
like
this big
weird
lockdown prison fortress detox center, right? And people start dying, so it becomes a whodunit.
Right.
Like, it becomes a like, and it's directed by the guy who did I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Okay.
So that dude's come off a big box office blockbuster. You know, he's got a bit of heat on him.
Yeah.
He takes it up, right? So it becomes a bit of a slasher flick.
And I was going to say, and it's in his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, so it becomes a bit of a slasher flick. And predictably, it is like one of them there is not a cop. And lo and behold, it's the ICU killer.
Of course it is.
Yeah. And yeah. So
it does make you wonder with movies like that when it becomes pretty obvious that what the twist is going to be. Like it must have been pretty obvious from the get-go. So you have made it to the end of this flick. Was it because it was worth watching, or because when you start something you finish it?
I was just so curious. Like I was like, where is this going to go? And like the thing that got me in was the ensemble cast, because I was like, damn, you don't hire these people unless you, and especially in 1998, you don't hire these people unless it's going to be, you're going to do something with these characters. You're going to.
I've seen some movies though where you'll get a cast, right, like a myriad cast of like, you know, big names and stuff, but just to specifically subvert the expectation and like
somewhat like
kill them
Knives
off
Out.
or just sort of like really
like everyone's a big name here. Either they're all going to die or none of them are going to die.
Well,
what plot armor do they have?
Well, no, but see, they were all kind of in the movie, right? But so for example, there was a movie a while ago, a few years ago now, called Life, that had Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal top billing, and then I can't remember her name, but the chick that has been in the last couple of Mission Impossible movies, the English chick,
yeah.
She was in it as well, and but the cast was all like reasonably known actors for now, but also Ryan Reynolds, Jake Gyllenhaal were doing all the press for it and everything, and it was very much them. And spoiler alert, Ryan Reynolds only lasts like the first 15 minutes of the movie, and he's probably the guy getting paid the most amount of money on that thing. And it's really just an alien knockoff. Like that's really all it is they find a bit of matter that's come back from a space station, and they're...
Oh, yeah.
You've seen this movie?
The trailer really plays up Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, it's Ryan Reynolds. It's Ryan Reynolds, and like he's got all like the zingers and stuff. But they managed to cut that trailer to make it look like he's in the whole thing. But in the first like 15 minutes of the movie, they find this bit of matter that's come back from this space station, and they're there to observe it and stuff. And then like overnight, it gets a lot bigger in this thing, and it starts to show like it's kind of sentient. And they're like, wow, like what's going on? And he's
somewhat like the symbiote from Spider-Man. It's like the Venom.
The first
symbiote
guy, and predictably the black guy, because that's the trope, right? The first guy is working in like the glass box with the gloves and stuff on this thing, and it goes through the glove and into him and kills him. So then they send Ryan Reynolds in to try and tame this thing, and then it rips a hole through him. And so like first 15 minutes they take him out, and Jake Gyllenhaal's still in the movie, but like the whole thing that you're expecting is them playing off each other. So
do you know what film is the ultimate example of this? Have you ever seen Executive Decision?
Yes.
Steven Seagal, top billing.
Yes.
I don't reckon he even makes the 15-minute mark. It's got to be the 7. Like if you don't include the title credits.
Yep.
I reckon it's 7 or 8 minutes.
I only saw
Kurt Russell then has to just shoulder the whole flick.
It was probably better that way.
It was definitely better that way.
I've seen the whole movie since, but when it first came up on TV when I was younger, I remember watching the first maybe 20 minutes of it, and then my parents like, it's time to go to bed and turn the TV off and whatever. And so all I saw was that, and I was kind of like felt like I'd seen a whole movie because you're like, oh well,
There's so much build up. They're like, we planned this whole heist, and like, I thought it was a fake out when I first saw it.
Yeah.
I was like, nah,
no way. He'll come back. He's clinging to the bottom of the fighter jet or something.
Or he had a parachute or something. I was like, this can't be. You don't hire Steven Seagal,
No.
top bill him, and then kill him in the first. Nope.
But so wasn't there was such a big spate of plane movies at the time as well
Air
that
Force
must
One?
have been a good way to like
Passenger 57?
subvert the expectation. Yeah, Air Force One, Passenger 57, Con Air.
Oh, Con Air. How could I forget Con Air?
Dave Chappelle.
What was it? Pogo?
I think it was Pogo, yeah, and
Pogo.
he gets stuck in the landing gear and and Nicolas Cage doing probably the worst accent I've ever heard.
Put the bunny back in the box.
That's a lot of movie stuff. Have we got a chat topic? We've got about 10 minutes before we'd start stretching the friendship, I think.
Not specifically. What do you got?
Not much either. We're not very well prepared, are we?
No,
Tim?
not necessarily. But I mean, all right. Well, while we're on it, while we're here, like the whole New South Wales COVID, like management, all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
And then that in regard to like, they were so close.
Yes.
To letting the state of origin happen in New South Wales.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still I still don't think it needs to even happen in the Gold Coast or in Queensland. But like, really, the match is a dead rubber anyway. You can't just like let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just
yeah.
give it to Queensland.
Yeah. What's the?
Because they lost the series anyway.
Yeah.
And I don't even watch the game.
Yeah. Same.
But like, and maybe that's why I can just so willingly go like, just don't play it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I get it. People want to watch
I suppose
entertainment.
It'll be different. I mean, not that we aren't copying it in the entertainment industry, but I suppose it'd be different if you were supposed to be getting
Pardon you.
Sorry. But like Parkway decided, oh hey, we're going to do our tour, but we are going to do the tour, but we're going to can Brisbane.
Yeah.
Like you'd be pretty devastated, I think.
But like, in a world where like they would still have when we had cases, not even as many as New South Wales, like a tenth of the cases in New South Wales, they still put the football on Sunday, had the stadium at full capacity as far as I know, but cancelled the entertainment. Like,
yeah,
does that or does that not just tell you everything
reek of
about
bias? Yeah,
yeah. Like, how was the entertainment of three, like a singer and two dancers? I know the person who was meant to perform. How does that change? How does that protect them or anyone else any more or less than like having 30,000 people there?
I guess one of the upsides at the moment is I see that through Collision Course, you've been getting quite a few activations of I say activations, but I guess like licensing music to the AFL to use on there. So like, I guess, with everything that's been going on and trying to maintain these, live shows for bands, but then also live sport and everything, like, yeah, maybe we just really need to start taking a look at supporting
the arts more.
Yeah, supporting the arts more, but just maybe like the live people going out to see sports and shit like that isn't helping anything. So why can't there just be one rule for everyone as opposed to, or we're going to put this thing on but not put gigs on?
And look, I know like it's a well-trodden, debate. Like everyone has this debate and it's like it just goes around in circles. I know. It's it just frustrates me.
Yeah.
And I'm certain I'm going to have people sort of commenting on this and saying that, their whatever their conspiracy theory is on it all or whatever. It's like it is like there are literally like people in Indonesia just dying like flies at the moment. We really just need to like get this thing under control. Like, life is never going to
take stock of the fact that like the footy might not be the most important thing to keep going. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, footy fans. But
yeah.
I mean, even then, like it's if it's good for them, it's good for us. Like if there's not going to be any footy shit, that's fine because we're used to there not being any gig stuff.
Yeah.
It sucks for everybody, but it's got to suck for everybody, you know?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You know, in those arenas anyway. So
yeah, that's exactly right.
yes.
Yeah. But anyway.
I think that's us, Tim. I think we're going to hit it right on the head at an hour. Yep, right there. Just like that. I've been enjoying this. Have you?
Yeah, bud. Yeah, absolutely. I like last week's, you know, even though we went a little bit over, I was enjoying myself. That's why we went over. I didn't sit there thinking to myself, I'm going to bore you motherfuckers for another 20 minutes. I was enjoying myself.
You know, the beauty of it is if they don't want to listen, they don't have to listen. That's the real beauty of it. I know for me as a podcast listener as well, I usually take things in chunks. Yeah. So if I'm listening, if I've got a couple of hours, I'll listen to a whole thing. But I'm used to taking things in chunks.
Yeah, right.
And you know, I think sometimes if you haven't got a whole hour, don't stress out about it. It's always going to be there.
Here's a little question for you to finish on.
Mm-hmm.
Is it
marry, kill?
No. Do you listen to your own, do you get high on your own supply? Do you listen to your own podcast?
I do listen to my own podcast because I edit this, Tim.
No. Post-release, do you sit there and listen to it?
I don't.
I did.
Yeah. No, that's all right. We're still new to this, all right? This is going to... We'll get old and jaded about it soon and we'll be like, this is the thing I do. But I used to work in radio like for... working in the studio and running the desk for the people that were out there doing live, presenters. They'd be out in the field and I'd be in the studio and they'd be sending their crosses back to me and I'd be putting them live. Yep. And I got to listen to like just so much like pop music every weekend and stuff. It's the same 3-hour block of music pretty much for the couple months before they start changing it out. And, you know, it can get a bit much. Yeah. But I got so used to with them, you know, everything is being live. They send it in, you do a quick pass through it, listen to it, and then you put it up and then it's over and it's gone. And I know there's a lot of bands that will write music and they'll fuss over it for a year or two and then they'll put it out and then they never listen to it. They have no intention of listening to it. I wouldn't say that I wouldn't listen back to one of these occasionally because I enjoy the chats that we have.
Yep.
But at the same time, when you get to a level of putting out so much stuff, you know, it's only so many things. I hear you talk about some movies that I haven't seen for a while, and I'm like, man, I really want to go back and watch Alien 3.
Yeah.
But man, I got to find the time in between all the other shit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Rewatching a movie is a real, it's a real luxury, I think.
Yeah,
it can be anyway.
Yeah, like you've got to make the time, for sure.
Yeah. And I know with you're listening to new music all the time, but admittedly that is your job to be doing that.
Yeah.
But listening to new music all the time and stuff, I guess it's an advantage for you that you're in that position to do that, because I know I have friends that they get a new album once every 12 months because they realize that they're so busy with work, like friends that are engineers and stuff, that listening to new music it's something you've got to make time for.
It is an interesting one with that, because it's like, because I get to do it so much and I take in like literally minutes after it's out, I'm hearing it.
Yeah.
That it sometimes makes it hard for me to relate to how people discover new music.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, why aren't you on top of this? Like, like it's out. Why aren't you listening to it? Like, because like people need to make time to listen to it. Because I'm just like, it's out. I heard it. I'm on top of it. Why aren't you? And like, I need to sometimes click back into like remembering how people consume music, because and like how they need to make time to do it. And like, people will literally like send me links and be like, oh, have you heard this? It's sick. And be like, oh yeah, that's right. That's out this week. I heard it last week when like it got sent to me.
Yeah.
You know, because someone was like, oh, you should play this next week.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, right. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's not out yet.
Yeah.
You know, like someone just announced that they're doing this. And we're like, yeah. Oh, right. I know that. But
yeah.
Like it's sometimes I really need to, that's the like the complication of it is I need to like, yeah, like selling and doing PR for bands, like understanding that like people get to consume stuff in different ways.
But also, I guess that leaves you with you've always got a pocket full of secrets. So you know that there's a band that's got a thing that's coming out and you've heard it or whatever like that. But then it's
a nice little privilege I don't take for granted.
It's a privilege,
nice,
but also it's a bit of I would imagine it's a bit of a responsibility as well to remember, like, if there's someone like a band's like, hey, we're going to drop this thing next week and whatever like that, but we're going to keep it quiet till X time, or there's releases, that are coming up. Like I know for me that I would say that I am respectful with secrets.
Yep.
But like when it comes to something like that, where it's a time-based thing, like, oh, everyone's going to know this, but in blah amount of time, I would think that it's a slippery slope to make sure that you're always on the right timeline, and not saying something earlier than you should, and living by calendar.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Big time. Yeah. So yeah, especially with the new Ninja stuff, like it's like out tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Like the film clip for it and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I saw that.
But yeah, like, I literally can't let out that to media too early because the risk of it leaking and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's a nice privilege.
And then to think, here's people like us that would be like, oh shit, I've got to be careful that I don't say anything. I wouldn't want to spoil anything. And then you get other people that are like, oh, there's something new out. Oh, let me leak that. Pricks.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah, I used to, like, it's no longer a thing, but there used to be a website called Kingdom Leaks.
Yeah.
And like they'd actively seek out stuff and leak it online well before.
Yeah.
I'm just like, why? Like, why would you actively seek out to ruin stuff for a band that you supposedly love?
Some people suck.
Yeah. And I get it. Like, I think that's where you get like toxic fandom.
Yeah.
Is like they're such fans of that band, they want to be on it first, but then they actually go ahead of themselves and like leak it out to like torrent sites and stuff. You're like, what? Yeah, that's really toxic.
I haven't heard the word torrent in a very long time, but that's a conversation for another day. I think that's
totally.
I think that's us. Thanks for everyone being so kind about this and enjoying it,
indulging
and
us.
stuff. And I do often say, and it's not really, I suppose it's not a very lucrative thing to say at the end of the podcast, but I honestly don't expect anybody that we know or anything to listen to a whole one of these. But if you have made it through all the way and you are enjoying it, appreciate having you around.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I always loved the Joe Rogan mentality of I was going to do this anyway.
Yeah,
I was going to have this conversation anyway, and I know there's people that are enjoying this, but for us, really, it's just an exercise in being able to
get this shit off our brain.
Yeah,
I really kind of love the brain dump, to be honest.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's like this is stuff that just bangs around in my head.
Yeah,
like all these like little tidbits about movies and like music and opinions on music and just garbage just bounces around in my head, and like I genuinely love the opportunity to roll it out. And I know that's a little narcissistic. I know it's like, look at all the things I know, let me tell you. But it's just so nice. It's like relieving the pressure a little bit. Like it just, I get it out, and it's cool.
We're conversation starters.
I think so.
And I think for me, this is what it's all about, is I like little conversation start. I like to, I'm a big fan of the idea of like a writing prompt. On Reddit, you can go on to like writing prompts, and someone will put up a little thing and then you can write a story about it. And I like things like this where you start to have a conversation with someone about it, and then next time I see someone who's seen this and they'll go, oh, that thing you were talking about, oh, that really got me thinking about blah, and it starts the conversation for you. I'm all about that, Tim.
On that level, let's I'm sure we'll chop this out like into a little clip, but
yes,
hit us with some topics. What do you want to hear us talk about? What movies do you want us to watch? Is there a song that possibly neither of us have heard? Between us, I doubt it.
I'm feeling like by the time we get to about episode 10, I'd like to have a little hat with some topics for the end of it, because there's always stuff that we want to talk about, but I think really I'd like to start getting into some off-kilter, like what do we got, and just have to You know,
Yeah.
really, really pick, because some of the best conversations that I've had with you and with my other friends when we're, you know, hanging out is when someone gives you something you weren't expecting and you connect the dots.
Like
Like
the waterboarding one.
the waterboarding one. Yeah, exactly
That
right.
threw me, man.
Yeah, yeah. You go, oh, really?
What?
Where is this going?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that might be the go. So if you got any recommendations, something to put in the hat, hit us up.
In that hat.
In
Specifically.
this hat. Yes. Love you guys.
Cheers,
Bye.
bud.